Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to Utility Sports. It's been a crazy week in the world of sports. Of course, the NBA draft lottery being perhaps one of the biggest and most important things of the week with huge implications. And there was a huge shakeup, to be honest. The Detroit Pistons moved up to one, the first time in franchise history that they've ever moved up into the lottery. The Toronto Raptors made a big jump up and a lot of other things. So we're going to be talking about that in today's NBA mock draft video. Make sure you guys hit that like button if you're enjoying all the NBA draft content we've been posting. And if you're new to the channel, check out some of our other videos. Also, subscribe if you are new. We'd love to have you be aboard of what we're building here at Utility Sports. We're trying to build the biggest, best collaborative platform on YouTube with our viewers. We want you guys to feel involved. We want to hear your guys' thoughts about all things sports in the sports world. We have a lot of fun stuff planned for the future as well. Some stuff with some jerseys, maybe a couple jersey giveaways and so on. So we're really hoping to have you guys be a part of the crew here at Utility Sports. And now let's transition into the NBA mock draft portion of the video here. With the lottery past us now, I want to hear your guys' thoughts about how kind of the lottery shook up. Of course, the Pistons are picking 1. The Houston Rockets moved down to pick 2. The Cavaliers jumped up to 3. And the Toronto Raptors jumped all the way up from 7 to pick 4. Crazy shakeup. We have a video up on the channel to explaining how the lottery works if that's something you're interested in. I'll put a card to that right here so you guys can check that out. Now looking at the Detroit Pistons here with pick 1, Troy Weaver's on the clock. And this is the easy, obvious decision. It's going to be Cade Cunningham, the point guard out of Oklahoma State. From the sounds of it, it sounds like he's not even going to visit any other teams. So it'll be interesting because if the Pistons did pass on him on draft night, maybe we could see a little bit of a small slide for Cade Cunningham. However, this is just not going to happen. Cade Cunningham's going to be the first overall pick in this year's class. He averaged 20 points a game, about 4.5 assists a game as well. Now, I've got some question marks about him. He's not the best athlete. He's not necessarily going to be the world's best shot creator. But I think he's got all the tools to at least improve in those areas. And he's very, very phenomenal in all the other aspects of basketball. He's a willing passer. He's a selfless star. And he's someone who's going to fit right in there in Detroit as a hard worker. Averaged 20 points per game for Oklahoma State this past year. And he just does a lot of things well. Even surprisingly, he shot the 3-ball very, very well. There is some shot creation potential. He's not as far along in that development path as he is in other areas of basketball. But Troy Weaver's getting a really, really good player here. Pistons fans, you've got to be so excited to have jumped up to the number 1 pick to land Cade Cunningham, the franchise point guard, the guy that is going to really turn this Pistons team around. I've got some question marks about Killian Hayes' fit on this team now, because of course, when it comes down to it, you're going to want the ball in Cade Cunningham's hands. He's that talented. So how exactly does Killian Hayes fit off the ball with Cade Cunningham? That's something we'll see as it plays out. But Cade Cunningham, of course, the number 1 pick here for the Detroit Pistons. With the 2nd overall pick now, we have the Houston Rockets here on the clock. Before we get to this pick, I want to tell you guys, let us know in the comments who your favorite player in this year's draft class is and who your favorite team is. We'll have a pinned comment for you guys to comment that on, because I'd love to get to know you guys a little bit better, know what team you're pulling for, and also what players you really like in this year's class. With the Rockets now at the 2nd overall pick, this is really where the draft starts, in my opinion, because you're looking at a team that needs a lot of different things. Evan Mobley, a very, very strong candidate here with the 2nd overall pick, as is Jalen Green. Jalen Green averaged over 17 points a game for G League Ignite, and he's a talented, athletic freak. He can do a lot of different things with the ball in his hands, also going to function very well off the ball. I could see GM there, Raphael Stone, looking at Jalen Green as a very unique, dynamic fit next to Kevin Porter Jr., who really took strides this year as the lead guy there in Houston. But I could also see him looking at Evan Mobley and say, wow, look at a front court of Evan Mobley and Christian Wood for the future. Both versatile bigs, can do a lot of different things. Christian Wood really, really extremely great at rolling towards the rim. Evan Mobley also very talented in that. Evan Mobley, a much better defender than Christian Wood. I think the two of them would complement themselves very, very well. And I think Evan Mobley has to be the pick here if you're Houston, especially considering what happened with Christian Wood this past year. When he went out for those 20 games, they got steamrolled, went 0-20 in that stretch. They need another big man there. They need someone who's going to take a little bit of that load off Christian Wood. The NBA is still somewhat about the big man. Now, it's not the same way it was in the 90s where it's, oh, let's post up our big, look for him to go one-on-one down in the low block. but everything still runs through the big man. Looking at the way that the Nuggets use Nikola Jokic and looking at the way that the playoffs really function, think about the Phoenix Suns. DeAndre Ayton's coming up, setting screens and drawing other teams' big men out into the action in the pick and roll. Evan Mobley's not going to be someone you want to target in those areas. He's versatile, he's mobile, he can do a lot of things, averaged over 3 blocks a game for USC this past season. He's a phenomenal player, and Houston's got to be very happy grabbing him here second overall. Now the Cleveland Cavaliers here are at pick 3, and they're a team that's in a state of flux at this point. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I think Colin Sexton's probably played his last game as a Cleveland Cavalier, so they're going to be looking into the backcourt. Now, it's a little complicated because they took Isaac Okoro last year. I think he fits a little bit better as a 2 than a 3. But you have to go best player available here if you're Cleveland, and that is just playing out Jalen Green. You move Darius Garland to the true point guard position like what he played at Vanderbilt. You introduce Jalen Green into the lineup, have Garland take maybe a little bit more of a playmaker's approach. He took strides this year as a second-year player, but I think he can be even better in that area. Jalen Green going to be very, very good off ball. It's going to be about bringing back Jarrett Allen. And you got Garland, Green, Okoro, Jarrett Allen. You have to figure out some of those other missing pieces at this point. Maybe a Sexton trade brings back something nice for the starting lineup. But Jalen Green, a phenomenal introduction here into the Cavs lineup and would be their number 1 scorer on day 1. Pick 4 now, we have the Toronto Raptors, and I know there's a lot of Raptors fans that watch our videos. So this is a very, very unique situation for Toronto. Kyle Lowry probably out the door this offseason. So it's about looking to find someone in the backcourt who can complement Fred VanVleet. And there's not anyone in this class better than Jalen Suggs when it comes to a complementary guard player. He's someone who I think a lot of teams are going to have their eyes on. He's a phenomenal defender, moves his feet extremely well. Also very, very pesky, good hands out in the passing lanes. Is going to be a good player on that end of the floor, but also brings you a lot on offense. He can function with the ball in his hands as a true point guard, but can also spot up off the ball. Good slasher, has very good basketball IQ. He played extremely well for Gonzaga this past year, and that's going to continue in the NBA. I think Fred VanVleet, Jalen Suggs would be a very, very dangerous backcourt for a long time. Now the Orlando Magic here, who you have to look at as one of the biggest losers from the draft lottery, dropping down 2 spots, and they were in dire need of adding someone with real talent. Here at this point, they're still having a shot at getting someone who's extremely talented, but it's a little bit less of a sure thing, and that's Jonathan Kuminga here out of G League Ignite. He's a 6'8" wing with a near 7'2" wingspan. He's going to be a multi-position defender, kind of like what they have with Jonathan Isaac. He won't be that level of defender. Don't get me wrong here. Kuminga is nowhere near Isaac in terms of defensive impact because Jonathan Isaac's one of the best defenders in the league. But Jonathan Kuminga has that two-way potential, someone who can also handle the ball a little bit as a small forward, can put pressure on defenses in the transition game with pull-up threes, can also get to the rim at will. There's a lot of different things Kuminga can do. Also surprised me with his passing quite a bit this year for G League Ignite. He was further in his progression than I expected him to be at that point. He looked very good in G League Ignite. I know his shooting splits weren't the best, but I think with a little bit of time, which is what Orlando has a lot of, they could introduce Jonathan Kuminga into the lineup, put a focal point on him on the offensive end of the floor, and he could really develop there in Orlando. Pick 6 now, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder here, a team that is in a very unique situation. Very possible they could have walked away with 2 top 5 picks, ended up with 0 top 5 picks, but they've still got 16 and 18 coming yet in this first round as well. The Oklahoma City Thunder, a very nice collection of young players already. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, of course, being the headliner. And here they're going to go for someone who's going to function maybe as a little bit of a point forward there. Scotty Barnes. The guy's a phenomenal defender, moves his feet extremely well, offers really great length, 6'9", with a 7-foot wingspan. He's going to do a lot of different things on the defensive side of the floor. He compares fairly well to Draymond Green, and even perhaps with a little bit more speed and athleticism. You're looking at OKC needing someone who's going to take some pressure off Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, especially in the ball handling and creation department for others. And Scotty Barnes does both of those things very well. Played a pseudo point guard position for the Florida State Seminoles this past year. Had never done that in his life, coming from Montverde Academy. And now he's coming to the NBA with the potential to be a two-way star. Does a lot of things very well. The Thunder getting a great player still at 6 because of how deep and loaded this draft class is. Pick number 7 now, we have the Golden State Warriors here, and there's 2 different ways I think that they could go. Davion Mitchell, I think a little bit better of a fit there in Golden State, someone who's going to come in off the bench, be a phenomenal on-ball defender. I think he's the top defender in this class. When you look at what he offers at the position, moves his feet so well. I can't put enough emphasis on that. Cuts off straight line drives to the rim, and he's feisty too. Gets under screens, gets over screens, hard worker, brings the lunch pail to work every single day type of kid. He's going to be really good in the NBA. But there's also Keon Johnson here, who's maybe a little bit of a different type of player, but I think would really benefit the Golden State Warriors. I think they need someone who can get to the rim off dribble drive penetration a little bit more consistently. However, at this point, I think Davion Mitchell just is the better player of the two. They have to go with the guy who's a little bit more NBA ready too. Keon Johnson, of course, posted that massive 48-inch vertical. This is what I've been saying about the guy. Extremely athletic, going to be a really good player in the NBA. Can get downhill quick, needs to improve his shooting. But Davion Mitchell instead here does, I think, make a little bit more sense in terms of the fit and how ready he is to help the Golden State Warriors win. Because, of course, right now it's all about the championship for Golden State. With a healthy Klay Thompson, healthy Draymond, healthy Steph, this team is still good enough to compete at a high level. 8th pick here now, we have the Orlando Magic yet again. Of course, they took Jonathan Kuminga 5th overall. And now here at pick 8, they're going to go with someone who has extremely high upside, in my opinion, and that is Josh Giddey out of the NBL. Playing for the Adelaide 36ers, he put up crazy numbers, some triple-doubles along the way, and did a lot of things really well. He's got a phenomenal feel for the game, and I think that's going to be something that the Magic are really looking for. They want to get better on offense. Now, I know Giddey's not the best shooter and not necessarily going to be the best defender in the NBA, but he's got real offensive upside as a playmaker. With that 6'8" frame at point guard, can do a lot of different things. I think he's going to be a good fit next to Markelle Fultz, great fit next to both Jonathan Kuminga and Jonathan Isaac. You're looking at a much improved Orlando Magic team now. Of course, they still have to find ways to introduce shooting into this lineup. They're going to have to do a couple different things, but I think at pick 8, you just go for the high upside pick. That is Josh Giddey. Pick number 9, now we have the Sacramento Kings here, and they're a team that's very interesting to me at this point because they've kind of got that backcourt figured out with De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton. I love what they got there, but the small forward through center position are real needs at this point, and I think they go with Jalen Johnson here, someone who's versatile, extremely muscular built, an NBA-ready body, someone who's going to come in, be able to put the ball on the deck, get to the rim. Now, of course, I think the Kings need to add a little bit more shooting as well into that lineup, but at pick 9, you don't go with just a shooter, you go best talent available. If you're Sacramento, they want to make the playoffs. They need to get back to the playoffs. Jalen Johnson's going to help elevate this team a little bit. I don't think they're a playoff team yet, even with Jalen Johnson, but it gets them going in the right direction down the road. Richaun Holmes will be the name to watch this offseason. I know Kings fans, you want him back, but a lot of other teams are going to want to bring Richaun Holmes in too. We'll see where he ends up in free agency. Pick number 10, we have the New Orleans Pelicans here. And they're a very interesting team as well because you're looking at Keon Johnson here sliding just a little bit. But I don't think Keon Johnson, again, is the best fit with the New Orleans Pelicans for the same reason I didn't have him go to the Warriors, for the same reason I didn't have him go to the Sacramento Kings. It's just not the best fit because he doesn't give you something different than what they already have there. Instead, they're going to be looking here at Moses Moody, someone who can really shoot the ball, can create off the dribble. Shot, I believe, 37% from 3 this past year. But he's better than that. He was taking tough shots for that Arkansas team, and I think he's going to be someone who's really elevated by playing around better players in the NBA. I think the Pelicans are the perfect landing spot for Moses Moody. Pick number 11 here, we have the Charlotte Hornets, and this team I think is in talent acquisition mode. They want to go with the best player available every single time that they can. LaMelo Ball, a fantastic, massive hit. They didn't let their backcourt stop them from drafting LaMelo Ball last year when they had Terry Rozier, Devontae Graham, and Devontae Graham is probably on his way out. He's a restricted free agent. I think some team's going to give him a pretty nice payday. I'm not sure if the Hornets are going to be interested in matching that. So instead, it's going to be about finding another guard that fits really well next to both Terry Rozier and next to LaMelo Ball, and that's Keon Johnson. Like I said, extremely athletic, very good getting to the rim. And I think he's a great complement to both Rozier and LaMelo Ball in that area. Terry Rozier has really taken strides as a shooter, especially in the catch-and-shoot situations. I believe he was shooting about 48% from 3 last year as a catch-and-shoot guy. Of course, he's a little bit smaller, though. So Keon Johnson comes in as a bigger guard. You could play Rozier at the 1, Keon Johnson at the 2. That's a viable lineup. And still, at some points, too, you could run LaMelo Ball at the 1, Keon Johnson at the 2. Give him another slasher, someone who can get to the rim. cut off ball, does a lot of different things very, very well. And he's athletic. He's going to be a plus defender in the NBA after he's developed a little bit. I don't think he's really a plus defender yet at this point, but I think the tools are there for him to grow in that area and become a plus defender down the road. Hornets here get a very, very talented player in Keon Johnson. I love what he brings, and it's an absolute steal at the 11th overall pick. Pick number 12, now we have the San Antonio Spurs here. And they're going to be a team looking for a little bit of rim protection help off the bench. They've been relying on Drew Eubanks as the backup big for them, and I just don't necessarily think that's viable long-term in the NBA. They've kind of got their wings figured out a little bit. Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, both two young players I really like. They've got their guard situation handled fairly well. DeJounte Murray, I think, is a budding star in a lot of ways, and I think Lonnie Walker is a nice complementary guard to him as well. So you have to look into that front court, and it's going to be Isaiah Jackson here. Averaged about 2.5 blocks per game for the Kentucky Wildcats. Offers good athleticism. He's more mobile than Jakob Poeltl. I think that he's going to be a phenomenal fit there with the San Antonio Spurs. Pick number 13, now we have the Indiana Pacers, which is funny enough because as I'm recording this, we actually do have breaking news right now that the Indiana Pacers are hiring Rick Carlisle to be the next head coach of the franchise. I talked about that when Rick Carlisle was out of Dallas, that the Pacers were going to be one of the best fits for him, and sure enough, that's where he lands. That is literally breaking news, just tweeted out right now by Adrian Wojnarowski as I'm recording this. So that's a little bit of a shakeup here, and I have them going with James Bouknight, the sophomore out of UConn. Just does a lot of things very well. He's going to help this team win games. With Rick Carlisle coming in, they want to be a playoff team, and they want to advance into the playoffs, something Rick Carlisle hasn't done since 2011 when he won the NBA Finals with the Dallas Mavericks. James Bouknight going to be a good addition into that roster, though. Of course, they got Karis LeVert, Malcolm Brogdon right now in that backcourt. Bouknight comes in as the number 2 guy, coming off the bench. He's going to be a nice addition into this team. I think that the Pacers still have a few moves to make. We could maybe see if Miles Turner's on his way out. We'll see how Rick Carlisle and management there in Indiana wants to get the move done. Bouknight, I think, a good addition, good starting point for them, though, this offseason. Now with the 14th pick, we have the Golden State Warriors, who already grabbed Davion Mitchell, 7th overall. And now here it's about trying to find other guys that can fit into not only your window, but also into your team construction right now. And let's be honest with ourselves, this Warriors team needs a little bit more shooting. Surprisingly enough, that's usually not the thing we're saying about Golden State, but I just think it's true. Coming off the bench, I think that they need 1 or 2 shooters yet at this point. I think Davion Mitchell's a very nice acquisition, and it's along the wing here. Corey Kispert, the perfect addition. They had a junior and they had a senior in this year's draft, both guys who are really, really ready to come into the NBA and compete. Maybe not the highest ceiling guys, but guys who have extremely high floors, are going to have very good NBA careers, and it's about building up some of that depth again with Golden State. They've really missed that since bringing in Kevin Durant. You know, you sacrifice depth for a star, and then when that star leaves, you're kind of left hurting a little bit. They really did a great job in this mock draft, grabbing Corey Kispert and Davion Mitchell. Warriors fans, you've got to be extremely happy about this. Kispert, an elite three-point shooter. He's going to space the floor well with Kelly Oubre likely not returning to Golden State next year. I think that Kispert and Davion Mitchell are the best outcome for the Golden State Warriors. Pick 15, now we have the Washington Wizards here on the clock, and they're going to be looking for a little bit of talent, and some talent that's going to fit long-term. We saw last year Washington go with Deni Avdija out of Israel, and I think they're going to stay overseas this year as well with Usman Garuba, someone who has real upside, especially at this point. I don't think that there's a player here that fits into their starting lineup on day one. So if you're the Washington Wizards, you have to be looking for guys that fit long-term. Usman Garuba is going to do that. Daniel Gafford gave them very nice minutes. Thomas Bryant, we'll see what he's like when he's back from injury. But here at this point, Garuba, a very nice rim protection option. It's a Swiss Army knife on defense, can do a lot of different things. Now he badly needs to develop on offense, but when you have Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, Deni Avdija, you don't necessarily need Usman Garuba to be the best offensive player on day one. He can fit long-term, play small ball center next to Rui Hachimura. You still have enough rebounding with those two playing the 4 and 5 together that they're going to be a dangerous team for the future. Pick 16, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder here yet again. They grabbed Scotty Barnes earlier to kind of play that point forward role. And now for the Thunder, it's about trying to find some center minutes, guys that are going to work very well in the NBA and be a complementary piece to Aleksej Pokusevski, who had a really up and down rookie year, if we're going to be completely honest with ourselves. So they're going to go Kai Jones here out of the University of Texas. Has only started about 14 games in his college career as a sophomore, but he's someone who I think would be a nice fit into this roster. Gives you a different element. He's athletic. He's a vertical threat. You can put the ball up in the air for him. He's going to finish lobs, and he's going to give you a little bit of rim protection on the other end of the floor. And he's a little bit more of a stable body, someone who's going to be able to handle real back to the basket bigs just a bit better than what Aleksej Pokusevski is able to do because of his frame. Kai Jones, a nice piece coming in as a center. Oklahoma City's not only going to want to continue their rebuild for the long term, but they want to start getting better now. Kai Jones is going to help them do that. You want to maximize your talent with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and I think so far this draft, they're doing a phenomenal job landing Scotty Barnes and Kai Jones. The 17th overall pick now belongs to the Memphis Grizzlies here, and they're going to go with a guy who slid a little bit in this mock draft, and that's Franz Wagner out of Michigan. I think he's a nice complementary piece, does a lot of things well. Look at Memphis. They struggle mightily with foul trouble. This gives you some real versatility. Franz can play either the 3 or 4, play some small ball 4 for sure. So when Jaren Jackson inevitably is in foul trouble next year, he can slot him in at the 4 if Brandon Clark's out of the game. Or you could also look at slotting him at the 3, maybe slotting Desmond Bane to the 2 when Dylan Brooks is inevitably in foul trouble. Taylor Jenkins has his guys playing hard, playing aggressive. It's going to lead to foul trouble, especially when Dylan Brooks uses his body the way he does on the defensive end. Jaren Jackson, of course, consistently going for blocks, getting himself in foul trouble. You need some guys who are going to come in, give you some versatility off the bench, and that's what Franz Wagner is going to do. Very good grab here for the Memphis Grizzlies. 18th pick now in this year's draft, and we got the Oklahoma City Thunder yet again, and they're going to complement their last few picks by looking into the backcourt and finding someone who can score the basketball, and that is Tre Mann. This is the earliest I've had him go in any of our mock drafts, and it seems like he's one of the fan favorites for you guys. I know you guys really like Tre Mann, and I think this is a great grab for Oklahoma City at pick 18. You're looking at a first round where you end up with Scotty Barnes, Kai Jones, and Tre Mann. That's a very good collection of young players. You're looking at Sam Presti getting this thing back on track a little bit, and the Thunder being much better next season. Pick 19, now we have the New York Knicks here, and I know the Knicks fans probably not going to be happy that Tre Mann's not on the board for them. That's the guy they really want, but they're going to be looking into that backcourt still yet at this point, and they're going to look at guard Chris Duarte out of Oregon. He can shoot the ball. I think he's a unique two-way player as well, has some defensive upside. Good frame at 6'6". He fits really well into that shooting guard position, can spot up off the ball. I think the Knicks need more shooting and better guard play. I think Chris Duarte is going to be a good addition into this Knicks roster. 20th overall pick here, we have the Atlanta Hawks, the surprise team of the year. After firing Lloyd Pierce a few games into the season, they've just exploded, and it hasn't stopped in the playoffs, winning game 1 against the Milwaukee Bucks the other night. They're 3 wins away from making the NBA Finals, and they're going to get even more talented here because at pick 20, they're going to go with guard Sharif Cooper. I think it's obvious that they need someone who can really fit in off the ball or with the ball in his hands when Trae Young is off the floor. Sharif Cooper, a phenomenal passer, arguably the best playmaker in this year's class, and he's going to do that extremely well at the NBA level, and he even measured in better at the NBA Combine than I think a lot of us were expecting. Measured in at 6'3", that definitely helps his draft stock. That was without shoes. He's going to be, not the best scorer. He struggled mightily with his shooting splits this past year. He's not going to be a lottery pick, guys. You guys need to know that Sharif Cooper is not a lottery player in this year's class with how strong of a class it is, but he's still a very nice addition. He has a great fit here with Atlanta. I think he's going to come in and do what they wanted Rajon Rondo to do. He's going to be a great grab. I think that the Hawks are going to be very happy to be landing him at pick 20, especially with how good of a season they're already having. Sharif Cooper only going to make this team that much better. 21st pick, we're back to the New York Knicks, of course, grabbing Chris Duarte. And it's about going back to the guard position again, finding someone who's going to fit with Chris Duarte, because this team does need a lot of help at the guard positions. They're going to go with Jared Butler here, the junior out of Baylor, played alongside Davion Mitchell, just won a national championship. He's about winning. Tom Thibodeau's all about winning. Jared Butler shot extremely well from 3 this past year. The Knicks are getting what they need. Shooters around Julius Randle, guys who are about winning, guys who offer some good size versatility in the backcourt. Jared Butler, another really good example of a player that's going to not only succeed in the NCAA, but really, really excel in the NBA as well. I think he's going to be a very good grab and very good value at pick 21. I know there's some injury concerns but I don't think that pulls him out of the first round. I think he's just too talented of a player, too good of a body of work to fall out of the first round. The Knicks grab him here, get really good value on that draft pick. 22nd pick here now, the Los Angeles Lakers are on the clock, and they're going to be looking for someone to replace Dennis Schroeder. I don't think Schroeder's back next season. His stint with the Lakers just did not go as planned. And they want to get better. They want to find ways to save some money as well and improve this roster around LeBron and Anthony Davis. They go with Cameron Thomas here, someone who's a very, very good scorer of the basketball, can put the ball on the deck and put the ball in the hole. And that's two things that the Lakers badly need. They need guys around LeBron James that can create for themselves and for others. Cameron Thomas did it all year long for the LSU Tigers. Will Wade, the head coach there, doesn't really have much of an offensive scheme other than, okay, we're going to let our best player go to work. And that's what Cameron Thomas did all year long. I think he's going to be a very good grab. And I also think he can function as a spot-up guy. Wasn't asked to do that at LSU, but he's got very good shooting mechanics. I think he's someone whose shot will translate very well to the NBA. 23rd overall pick here, we have the Houston Rockets now on the clock. And they're going to go and maximize their talent here at this point. And at this point, after grabbing Evan Mobley earlier, they're not going to be looking for a big man, but instead they go with Zaire Williams, someone who can play probably the 3 or 4 position in the NBA at 6'8". He's got a very good wingspan and very good athleticism. Reminds me of a younger Nicholas Batum, which maybe isn't the best comparison for a player, but that's someone who's, historically got a max contract because a lot of teams around the league valued him. Nick Batum was a great player for the Portland Trailblazers, and we see how much of an impact he has winning right now with the Los Angeles Clippers. He's been huge for them all year long, and I think Zaire Williams is similar to Nick Batum with even more athleticism, even more upside. He's going to post triple doubles. The Rockets here getting great value at pick 23. Evan Mobley, Zaire Williams, 2 phenomenal grabs. And now at 24 here, they're looking for someone else who can score the basketball. Jae'Sean Tate was a nice surprise player for them out of the NBL. I guess not much of a surprise. I thought he was going to play very well. Played fairly similarly to LaMelo Ball when they were both in the NBL at the same time. Jae'Sean Tate, a very nice player, but I think that they have to look for someone else who can give them a little bit more offensive upside, and that's Max Abmas, who is perhaps one of the most impressive players to me during March Madness. He carried that Oral Roberts offense. He was averaging a ton of points a game. I believe he led the entire nation in scoring. Max Abmas can put the ball in the hole flat out. The Rockets need more scoring threats, and Max Abmas, the best one they could grab here. At pick 24, you're looking at a completed out team where you really address a lot of different needs. You go along the wing, grab Zaire Williams, you find the versatile mobile big man in Evan Mobley, and then you come back, grab Max Abmas with your final first-round pick. Rockets fans, this is something you have to be extremely excited about. 25th overall now, we have the Los Angeles Clippers here, and this couldn't work out any better for them. They've been looking for a big man for so long. Of course, Fiondu Kabengele a few years back they drafted. They also took Daniel Oturu this past year. They've been looking for big men who are versatile, can do a few different things, and there's not a better option than Alperen Şengün here. He's a phenomenal player out of Turkey. I think he's going to be everything that they want him to be and more. He can pass the basketball. He can step out behind the three-point line. He's also got phenomenal footwork. Pick 25 is extremely low for him. He slid a little bit. Some of these teams aren't necessarily going to be looking for big men. It's a guard-heavy class. A lot of teams are going to be looking for guards as well this offseason. But Şengün, a very talented player. I could see him even going in the lottery potentially. He's one of the hardest guys to mock right now because I think some scouts are going to be up here with him and others are going to be down here with him, similar to how Luka Doncic didn't go number 1 overall in his class despite having maximum success overseas. I think Alperen Şengün is going to be hurt a little bit by playing over in Turkey. Not a lot of teams get to see him as frequently as they do these college kids. Of course, this year a little weird with COVID restrictions too. Not a lot of in-person scouting going on. But it's harder to get access to film tape on these guys overseas for GMs and executives as well. Şengün slides a little bit in this mock draft, but I could see him going anywhere between pick 10 and pick 25 like this video. Pick 26, now we have the Denver Nuggets here, and this is a dream scenario for them. They got a really good player here yet on the board, and that's Ayo Dosunmu. Again, a guy who slid a little bit. I think he's a phenomenal grab here for the Denver Nuggets. I could see him easily going to one of those Knicks picks as well, maybe pick 19 or 21 if they liked Dosunmu more than Duarte. I think that's something that we would have a real conversation about. Let me know, Nuggets fans, how excited you would be to grab Ayo Dosunmu on draft night. Pick 27 here, we have the Brooklyn Nets on the clock now, and they're a team that I think just needs to look into that front court a little bit more. Steve Nash clearly didn't have a lot of trust into his big man position. DeAndre Jordan didn't play a single playoff minute this year. Nick Claxton didn't get a lot of run. And there's just a real question mark, especially with Blake Griffin about to enter free agency. I think here they go with the kid out of Western Kentucky, that is Charles Bassey. Gives them a true center position, and I think he's a better fit into this roster. They need to address the big man spot, and Charles Bassey, the best player yet on the board. With the 28th pick here now, the Philadelphia 76ers are on the clock, and they are very, very happy to see this guy still around. That's Jaden Springer out of Tennessee. I think he's a very good grab at this point. The Philadelphia 76ers are going to look to move Ben Simmons, and they're going to move to a new combo guard backcourt, probably of Tyrese Maxey and Jaden Springer if he's here. Otherwise, Shake Milton will probably move into the starting lineup. They've got a lot of nice players on that team there in Philly. They just need to improve a little bit in the backcourt, look for a little bit more ball handling and scoring, and I think that this team can go a long ways next playoffs. Pick 29, we have the Phoenix Suns here on the clock, and they're a team that is very, very talented. I think the only thing that they can really improve on, as they're 2 wins away from making the NBA Finals, is looking for a backup wing. Right now they're running with Torrey Craig. I think that they can take a step up for the future there, and they're going to go here with Marcus Bagley out of Arizona State. This is the first time he's gone in the first round of one of our mock drafts here on the channel, but he's very talented. Stands at 6'8", was the more impressive of the 2 Sun Devils. Of course, Josh Christopher is the one with a little bit more hype. We see him right here, but Marcus Bagley was just more solid, more consistent this year, and I think the Suns staying in the state of Arizona here, grabbing Marcus Bagley does make a ton of sense. He's going to be a nice NBA player. I don't think there's a lot of star potential with him, but I think there's some of that, hey, this guy's going to be a nice long-term role player, can fit him in behind Mikal Bridges off the bench. Marcus Bagley, a very good grab, and I think a good fit into the Suns roster. And then with the final pick of the first round, we have the Utah Jazz here, who of course had a very, very disappointing end of their season. They lost to the Los Angeles Clippers, and I think the glaring need was athleticism off the wing. Mike Conley's going to be out. I think that the move for the Utah Jazz has to be slide Donovan Mitchell, the point guard, and introduce a little bit more athleticism and size on the wing. Bojan Bogdanovic, Joe Ingles, Jordan Clarkson, you've got a lot of talent along the wing. You just need more athleticism to complement those guys. And there's not a player that's much more athletic in this class than Greg Brown, the freshman out of Texas. This guy can really jump. He can do a lot of things extremely well. And I think here, if you're looking at this from the Utah Jazz perspective, they need someone who's going to be able to come in, be a lob threat, and give you real two-way potential. Royce O'Neal, I really like what he brings. Good hustle guy, good heart guy. But I think Greg Brown has a big-time upside for the future. Let me know in the comment section again who your favorite player in this year's draft is, and also your favorite team. I'd love to get to know you guys a little bit better on the channel. Let me know, too, what you think about this draft. Did I do a good job? What picks would you change? I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. Thanks again, guys, so much for watching. If you did enjoy, smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. Turn on that notification bell as well. That would mean a lot to us here at Utility Sports. And we'll catch you guys in the very next video.